Good morning everyone and welcome to our sunrise safari from, well, a beautiful Djuma. It's warm, it's pleasant, there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and not even 1 second ago a male lion just finished his roar, and I can hear him roaring just on the other side of the Mulawati on Twin Dam, so I'm going to try and race across to go and find him. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I do have Senzo, and we are coming to you live from South Africa, which means that you can use hashtag Safari Live on Twitter if you want to ask questions or say hello, and the YouTube chat as well. Right, without further ado, let's quickly try and get across to Twin Dams. He's obviously moving quite fast because his roars were very loud at about 4:45 this morning, and it's just getting fainter and fainter the more we're sitting here. So I'm going to try and do it as fast as I can and try and get around to Twin Dams. He's just roared right now, so I'm going to hope that we can find him. Sounds like he's getting closer and closer towards our boundary, but well, we're going to try nonetheless. Hold on, Senzo. It's going to be a bumpy ride to get to there. But I wasn't 100% sure he was caught in quarantine and checked Twin Dams, and there was no sign coming south from Gowrie Dam, which is obviously, we know we left them on the northern side of the lodge, and so I was hoping that we would pick them up there, but it seems as though they must have gone on the western side of quarantine, down sort of Philemon's maybe, and even they could even still be on Weaver's Nest, so maybe we'll have to just double check there as well. But we're going to try get around as quick as possible. So if you were fast asleep or are feeling sleepy in any way, you're about to wake up, because we're about to Ferrari safari our way around to a calling male line. It's the easiest way to find them when they are calling like this. It's the best way to try and kind of get them and to be able to pick them up while they are still vocalizing. Obviously it's easy to try and get then tracks from that as well. Right, so I believe a lot of you are excited by the prospect of a roaring Birmingham boy. Exactly, it's been a while since we've had roaring lions on Djuma, and so I'm going to try and get there as quick as possible. If we don't find him, I do have a, not from last night, but I found a clip of all four of the Birminghams roaring together if anyone wants to hear it. Maybe we'll get Poochie out from his naughty corner and we can play it for all of you guys. So we will try and do that a little bit later, but first let's try and find our very own roaring Birmingham. It sounds like just one though, it doesn't sound like the four that we heard yesterday or saw last night. It sounds like just the one individual that is calling, so hopefully there is another one around, but I haven't heard any others calling. The problem with these Birmingham boys is they walk about as fast as I drive, so they tend to get quite far south quite quickly, so it is difficult to be able to kind of keep up with them. And at least he is still roaring, which means that I can kind of pinpoint roughly where he is, and hopefully we will have a situation where we can find him somewhere still on Djuma. But I don't think he's going to be on Djuma for long. The way that line is moving is with haste and speed, and almost trying to get off Djuma as quick as he can. Right, so we're going to just have to cross the Mulawati. We're just on Vulture's Nest at the moment, and we're going to try and get across the Mulawati. Hopefully little Tumba is still around as well. We might bump into him on the way, but if we do bump into him, then we'll come back to him later. We'll try and get to the lion first, because the lion is moving further southwards and going towards our boundary, whereas if Tumba is here, he's going to probably be here most of the morning, so we could just come and catch up with him a little bit later again. But I'm surprised at the temperature today. I thought we had overcast weather, because when I stepped out this morning it was very pleasant outside. It was warm, it was nice, and I thought maybe it would be overcast and that's why it was so warm, but it's not. It's bright, it's clear, it's beautiful, and there is a little bit of a breeze blowing that's maybe on the chilly side, but other than that it really is quite pleasant out here. Okay, now we're getting roughly into the area where I think this male lion must somewhere be somewhere around here. This is obviously where we left Tumba last night, was in this general vicinity, so I wonder if he isn't around. I just want to check and make sure I don't drive over tracks and not leave a sign for the other guys. There's no tracks coming out, so I wonder if he's not still lying there. David, you say finding a male lion would be the best way to start off Catterday. Well, I agree, David. I think it's a wonderful way to start our Catterday. I certainly think so. Anyway, I'm roaring Birmingham, and then we can have a little Tumba or Sana later. Spotted cat. It'll be nice to have some of the female leopards around. I don't know where Tandy is at the moment. I don't know where Shadow is. I know Shadow was seen very briefly on Hoffman's a day ago or so. So it would be nice to have one of those girls around, or even little Shongile would be also fantastic. Right, now let's check if there isn't tracks here. So there's no tracks that I can see anywhere on this vicinity. Must be on Weaver's Nest then. Right, I'm going to shoot down towards Elephant Carcass and then just head across to Weaver's Nest and see if I can't find tracks there, because there doesn't seem to be any tracks in this general area that I'm in at the moment. And that lion was roaring from somewhere in this kind of east-west line that we're on now. It didn't sound too far from Twin Dams, but Weaver's Nest runs parallel not very far at all, and to discern the difference from a distance is not as easy. So I'm going to hopefully try and find some sort of sign here. No tracks that I can see. Just want to check. I wonder if these lions haven't decided to cut more towards Treehouse Dam side. We know that sometimes the Birminghams will go down Weaver's Nest and then hit towards Treehouse, and then from Treehouse south into Little Gowrie. So I want to try and just have a little look this side and see what's going on. Now, I'm not the only one out this morning. I think Brent is out from last night, and Taylor McCurdy is also just getting her morning started, and I believe she is sitting atop the escarpment with a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Mara sunrise. So let's go, Clay. Hello.
Morning, everybody. This silly tree has ruined Ferg's shot. How dare it, eh?
It snuck in there.
It did sneak in. It was one of those migrating trees that decided it was going to ruin Ferg's shot. No.
Lord of the Rings tree.
The Lord of the Rings tree. But beautiful nonetheless. Good morning again. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is the great Ferg, aka the ladies' man.
That was a salute.
Was it a salute? Very nice. Very, very fancy. But it's another incredible morning out here. Of course, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now. So if you'd like to have a chat with Tristan and I, and possibly Brent a little bit later, hashtag Safari Live, or you can chat to us on the YouTube chat. But there we go. I like starting my morning off here. I think it is beautiful, and this tree in particular is absolutely fantastic. It creates the most amazing silhouettes. Just like I used to love the marula trees. I feel like I've been away from South Africa for so long, I almost called it the amarula tree. Rookie era. Anyways, but a beautiful Bell 90s tree is also fine. And hopefully, do you think it'll just pop through there?
Yeah.
The sun's now taken its time. I think it's frozen.
Okay.
Just very slowly. Oh, there it's moving. Very, very, very slowly. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, I know a lot of you like to describe the sun in this form as the egg yolk of an egg, obviously. And I see where you're coming from. But it's just far more beautiful than just a casual yolk of an egg. In my opinion, anyways. Isn't that lovely? Something a little bit different. I'm glad that we can show you the sunrises. There's no better way to start your day than either watching the sunrise, or if you're lucky enough, watching the moon set at first light. Hopefully we'll be able to see that too. The last full moon we had, unfortunately, it was very cloudy. And I look forward. I actually hope that I'm not on safari when the moon rises next time. I want to watch it from camp. No, Anna Marie says you can never get enough of beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Yeah, it doesn't matter how long you watch a sunrise or a sunset, it'll always be absolutely fantastic. It really and truly is absolutely magnificent. And so yes, it is. It's like I said, it's the best way to start one's day. I mean, if you started off feeling a little bit, glum, this will definitely put a smile on your face. And if you're lucky enough, you can hear the birds every now and then. But the birds aren't too chatty out in these open grasslands. But we have a plan this morning. Of course, our goal is to try and find some action, to try and find some lions, or perhaps a leopard, or perhaps a cheetah, or who knows, maybe we find a clan of hyena and can start following them around. So that's what we're going to be doing, is we're going to be searching for those animals this morning. Shall we move on? I think we... Now, Justin, you're wondering about my dear friend Maurice, and you haven't seen him for a while. He's been around every now and then, but and you're wondering if he was on vacations. Fergus just said he's on spring break. No, he's not. He really has disappointed me as an elephant, as much as an elephant can disappoint one, because I cannot believe, I mean, you know, you open up an Instagram account for him and he becomes arrogant and not very pleasant to deal with at all. So I put him in the cupboard basically until he behaves, and yeah, and he just learns to just relax and take it easy. He's just let everything get to his head. I said this the other day. I can't tell you how true it is. So maybe a few days of darkness will do the elephant good. Are you going to behave now? All he just shouts at people drive past, you know, do you want my autograph? Do you know who I am? He says like horrible things like that to people, which is not very nice at all. So, sorry? Maybe. Berg's wondering if he's got more followers than you. Probably not. And I hope it stays that way. Anyways. Chantal, sorry. I turned my radio down and I've started driving and I couldn't hear anything. What did you say? Please? And thank you? Right. So it seems as though Brent has been battling the comms issues most of the morning, but he's sorted them out just in the nick of time so you can see his sunrise.
Just died in my hat bike, and but there we go, an absolutely gorgeous Kenyan sunrise. Now we need to have quite the night. It's been up and down.
Ooh, my goodness. Sorry, I know. Everybody wants to talk to me and I can't talk because I'm live. It's probably one of the toughest things, and I really feel bad that I can't stop and have an entire conversation with someone, which is a little bit hard, but that's what happened to me yesterday. We were driving and there was a total of about 9 cars coming towards us with a dust cloud so thick I didn't even know what was on the other side of those cars. Every single one of them stopped, "What's Safari Live?" And you know, everyone gets very excited, then you have to go through the whole process and explain what we do and how they can go from here and go back home and carry on watching their safaris, and it's really wonderful. But yes, it's difficult to do these types of things when you're live. Anyways, sorry gentlemen at the back if you are watching. And we're going to carry on looking for our cats. I'm going to send you back towards Tristan, and hopefully he finds some lions too.
Unfortunately not, because, well, here we are at the junction of Gowrie Main and Weaver's Nest, and there lies a myriad of footprints of lions going southwards. So I don't know if this is the male lion that was roaring, but there is male lion tracks in here that do come from the northern side, and so I think he's already crossed. I just want to double check along this fire break along the road a little bit, because there was another track at Treehouse that was cutting south down a path, but I think in all likelihood these guys have already crossed over and gone into Little Gowrie. So lots of tracks for lions heading in that direction. Just want to double check along here in case maybe there's another male that's just lurking in the background that hasn't quite gone over yet, but alas, they were too fast for us this morning. And this is what happens often with Djuma, is that the lions seem to cross it in a rate of knots. I don't know how they get down this far this quickly, but anyway, it is the way it is. It's the way that things go, and unfortunately I think he's already over and into Little Gowrie. But we tried valiantly, and we drove as quick as we could to get into this area to try and find him. So at least it was a worthwhile effort. At least we found his track, so we were on the right path, and given a little more space we probably could have found him. But that's the way it goes. It's okay. We'll just double check the boundary just to make 100% sure that there isn't another male, like I say, lurking. But given where we heard him and the tracks that we've seen, I'm pretty sure that this male crossed out and is no longer in the Djuma at all. Nick, you're asking if a leopard would still be around if lions are calling. Nick, yes, it depends on how close they're calling. Obviously, if you get a lion calling within a few meters of a leopard, then probably not. Then a leopard's trying to get out of there. Oh, how's that? This is not ideal with the power line, but the sunrise this morning is spectacular on our horizon. So we do have a power line there, which is not ideal, but there is this beautiful, beautiful orange sun. So a leopard is used to lions roaring. Remember that they live with it and they deal with it every single day, and so they have to hear it. As long as they can hear a lion, they're not going to get ambushed by a lion, and they'll be very watchful, but they're not going to be too stressed about it. But if you have a situation where lions are quiet, that's more dangerous to a leopard than a big roaring, lion making a lot of noise, because at the end of the day, if he's making noise, the leopard knows where he is. Now, the sunrise, like I say, is quite spectacular this morning. Isn't that amazing? That beautiful orange color. It's red-orange, and it is massive on the horizon at the moment. It is really very, very big, and it's slowly just coming up over that eastern boundary. And it's a wonderful view, kind of, because where we are now, it slopes down and then up again as you go towards Torchwood, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's as good as it gets, really. Now all you need is a leopard in a tree, and that is the silhouette, and that would have been the spot-on sunrise and best sunrise ever, I would say. Right, now I'm going to just admire the sunrise a little bit longer. I can also hear a elephant somewhere close by, so I'm going to try and head in that direction to where the Ellie is making some noise, and while I do that, I believe Brent has got a male lion on the move.
Welcome back. Sorry about us not having any audio a little bit earlier, but we have had quite the interesting evening, and it's been, I think, probably one of the coldest nights that I've had out here. I am now wearing every single iota of my clothing, and 3 shukas. And Davy and I had a very cold night last night, but this wind also made it incredibly difficult for us to find the lions. The wind and these valleys just made the sound travel in all sorts of strange directions. By the way, my name is Brent Smith. I've got Dangerous Dave the Dish on camera, and finally, as the sun popped up this morning, we were tracking the roars of a lion, and we finally managed to find him. I actually tracked his footprints, which is not something we get to do too often in the Mara. Unfortunately, he is in a gremlin zone at the bottom of this little ravine. But he has been moving quite a lot. Oh, he's found something nice and smelly there to rub on. Now, this is one of the Black Rock boys. There are 2 of them, and they are extremely impressive male lions. And that is something the Mara has got plenty of. Remember, #SafariLive if you've got any questions for us. So, this is an area we haven't been in since Earth Live, so a good few months ago. So Davy and I decided to come explore, and we followed quite a few different lions last night. Some went to Tanzania, some went into gremlin zones, and it has been a bit of a trying evening, but it's always great to be out, and just as provided you've got enough layers. So I think, how many layers do I have on here? I've got 1 shuka, 2 shuka, 1 big jacket, 1 medium jacket, 1 jersey, 1 safari shirt, 1 t-shirt, 2 pairs of tracksuit pants, and probably the reason I'm so cold is because I didn't pack so well when we left yesterday. and I forgot my boots in our tent at Silas, so I'm wearing flip-flops, which is quite cold, or sandals. And speaking of not packing well, I really didn't pack well when we came across. I forgot my shaver, so I do apologize for the bedraggled look I'm sporting at the moment. And of course, the hair gets quite knotty when one's sleeping on a vehicle for 2 nights. But after the drive today, Dave lost the line. He hasn't moved, Dave. There he is. After drive today, a really hot shower at Silas is going to be definitely worthwhile. Hi, Nick. Nick is wondering how many prides of lions are in this area. Well, the main pride in this part of the world is the Black Rock Pride, and then down towards the Sand River, and there's another pride that comes in from Tanzania. I'm not sure of their name, and further south, not too far from here, is Silas Pride, who we started the evening off with. And to the east of us is the Super Pride, or the Ulamuintik Pride, and they're also a very big pride. Now, he's heading in a great direction, but we're going to have to cross some gremlin areas to get there. So if we have a look on that crest over there, and I know because we were over there earlier trying to find where the lion roars were coming on, a little bit to the right, Davy. Oh no, yes, there. Now just over that hill is a few thousand wildebeest, and so he's heading in the sort of right direction towards where the herds are. Quite a lot of the herds in this area are heading south, heading for the Serengeti, but we're not seeing those big masses like we did earlier. The herds are very, very, very spread out. And where's he gone now? So someone was wondering, sorry, I missed the name. The wind is really strong up here. What's the average sort of lion pride? William, there we go. Thank you, William. Thank you, Chantal. What is the... Oh, he's across the river again. He's on our side. What is the average pride size territory for pride here? It's not as big as you would expect. It's probably around between 2,000 and 5,000 hectares, which is probably about half of what you would expect from a lion pride in the Great Kruger. Now, it all depends. The closer to the Mara River, the smaller the territories are, and the Sand River and the Talek. So around the main watercourses, the pride sizes are smaller, but as you head into the big, vast open grasslands, the pride territory sizes can become a bit bigger. So it all depends on the area that they control. So the lions that control the high density prey numbers, so around rivers, waterholes, etc., their territory sizes will be smaller than the ones that have to work hard out in the vast open grassland. Now, of course, they only have to work hard when the migration isn't here, so times are about to get tough for some of the lions in the Mara. But while we're going to stick with him to see if he crosses the gremlin zone and carries on up onto that ridge where we will be in a grand signal, it sounds like Tristan has started off his morning with a great grey beast.
We have Brenty, we have 2 male elephants that are busy feeding away on the fire break here, so not far from where we left you guys just now when we were looking at the sunrise, so we could hear them feeding and came in. There's just this one male here, and the other one is further north and not really visible anymore. He's drifted off into the thicket. And the good news is that I've just heard another lion roar, and it sounds like he might still be at Twin Dams, so maybe there's another one at Twin Dams, and I could hear contact calls and females roaring just south of the boundary. So I think the Styx Pride is not far, and then I think one male might be at Twin Dams, so Rex is on his way there just to double check if there isn't any sign of our line at Twin Dams itself. So hopefully one of them will settle down and we'll be able to find them a little bit later as well. Now, this male elephant is a beautiful example. He's got the most beautiful tusks for a young individual. He's not a big boy at all. He's probably, I would say, only in his 20s, early 20s. He's a small-bodied elephant still, but his tusks are symmetrical and they've got this nice upturn to them and are big for his age. Those are going to be really large. You can imagine when this bull elephant gets to the age of 50, how big those might be if he does get that way. So there's a number of these younger bulls which have got really beautiful tusks that are starting to appear in these areas, and they're known as emerging tuskers, some of them. This is probably a little small to be an emerging tusker at this stage, but it's interesting to see that there are a lot more of these kind of bigger tusked elephants slowly but surely starting to come through the ranks in their sort of teenage years. And remember that the years of poaching and ivory trade was in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and so you ended up with a situation where a lot of that genetic is only going to start coming back, and we're only going to start seeing the really big tuskers coming through in these newer generations. So nice to have young males like this with nice big tusks around, and they really are an impressive thing when you get massive sets of tusks on a elephant. It really is quite amazing. But gently feeding, as elephants do. It's perfect weather for an elephant. Its sun is not too bright yet, and so there's a nice cool breeze blowing, and so you can just sit right out in the open and shove as much in as possible. And you'll find basically what he's doing is he's breaking off young trees at the moment and is stripping all of the bark off these branches and trying to expose a cambium layer. That's what he's after. And so you will find that he'll twist that tree a little bit, and then he's going to stick it in and then basically turn it within his mouth and get rid of it. He's also broken off some roots. When we first found him, he was busy with some roots. You can see at the bottom there is a tree that he's pushed over and broken and mangled, and then he was trying to expose some of the roots. And I always love watching these Ellies bulls feed. They do it in the most lazy way possible. You can see he's kind of holding onto that branch, not actually feeding on much of it yet, but he just dangles out of his mouth while he's busy with another part of it, and then once he needs what he wants, he then turns it and gets it in and eats it the way that he wants to eat it. There we go. So now you'll see him turning it. You can actually even hear him crunching away at the bark. Nope, that's all where he wants from that particular one, and down it goes again. It's amazing though that they're able to sustain such a large diet from little bits of bark. Tanya, you're wondering how far I am away from the elephant. Well, the answer to that is not very far away at all. This elephant is sitting right behind my shoulder, so if you see me and you can see where the elephant is, then all is very well. This elephant is in no way upset with us and in no way showing any signs of being upset. We have a situation where this elephant is feeding. As soon as it feeds like this, it then means that there is no sort of way that it's going to be upset. What they will do sometimes is they will do what's called displacement feeding, where they pretend like they're feeding and they'll grab things and put in their mouth, but they're not actually feeding on it. Whereas this individual, you can see, is just picking up lots of different things, crunching away, eating away, and that means that he's in a perfect relaxed state. Also, if he's going to cross his legs, the individual, he's just relaxed and he's feeding and he's not worried about us too much. So we can be this close without having to worry about it. We don't have to be too stressed. We're very fortunate in this Sabi system that 99% of our elephants are fairly relaxed individuals and will allow us these close and intimate kind of views of them. You have to be obviously a little careful sometimes, and you've got to watch out, and sometimes there will be animals that won't allow you to get this close, but for the most part here we are lucky in that we can, and the elephants are fairly tolerant of us. Now it is gusting of wind. All of a sudden this wind has come up heavily, and this elephant, you can see, is turning now and sniffing us. The wind is coming from my left shoulder across towards where this elephant is, so our scent one will be blowing towards him. So while he's comfortable with the car, the scent of humans might be there and he's just a little wary of that. Also, we know lions have been in the area and this wind is blowing from where those lions were, so it's going to also be gusting a scent of lion or predator, and therefore he's double checking and just scenting that wind, making sure of his environment and making sure what's going on. So you'll find when there's these big gusts, the trunk, there we go, you see the trunk is just facing us and sniffing, and that's because there's gusts of wind that are coming and he's working out, okay, what's going on, right, everything's fine, I don't need to worry, and then he can carry on feeding and doing his thing. But there you see he's still smelling us. And very intelligent animals, and an incredible sense of smell as well. Mike in Alabama, the scientific name is Loxodonta africana for a elephant. So Loxodonta basically refers to their teeth, big teeth that they've got, and then africana is African elephant. So that's the name for these guys, and they're. Oh, what's he just noticed? Something has just sort of piqued his interest. Did you see how his head and shoulders just changed slightly? He kind of lifted his head and he almost made himself slightly bigger and then just stared around. So I think there was some gust of wind that he didn't quite like or enjoy, and that's why he just sort of picked up and just looked. There you go, you see again? And the wind is properly blowing now. It's getting stronger and stronger, and our scent is blowing straight onto him at the moment. See, and you see the difference in his body when the wind blows. He's changing his posture slightly. Justin, you're wondering how many pounds an elephant can lift with his tusks. Well, it depends on the elephant and depends on the tusks. At the end of the day, some tusks are bigger, thicker, stronger than others. Some you'll find they're going to be little thin tusks like on a female, or on a male you'll find that some will be much bigger and thicker than even what these are. And the thicker and stronger they are, the thicker they are, the stronger they tend to be, and the more likely they can lift a bigger weight. I will tell you this, that elephants can lift serious amounts of weight. I've seen them throwing cars around before. It's quite astounding actually how they can pick up a car and just throw it. It really is ridiculous. So they are incredibly powerful. As to exactly how much is the upper limit, it all depends on those tusks. Remember, some of the tusks will have little fissures in them that under pressure will start to crack and break, and we know that elephants do regularly break their tusks, particularly the males. So it's all relative to the particular individual. Remember also that lifting of weight is not only the tusks themselves, but it is the neck area and the head area of that elephant and the muscles that are in the neck that will provide the strength to lift. So generally, it's dependent on the size of the bull and the size of the tusks as well as the muscles that will vary quite drastically between individuals, and so it's difficult to give a number as to what they would be able to lift, but I can tell you they can lift very, very heavy things, and it is quite incredible to see the power that they've got. I've seen them lifting trees that cars really battle to pull with a tow rope. So I've had once put a tow rope around a tree and tried to reverse it in low range in one of these big Land Rovers, and unfortunately that tree just did not budge, whereas an elephant came along, put his tusks under it and just picked it up and pushed it out the way. So that gives you an idea of just how strong they can be. But here's a beautiful example of a young individual. He's such a nice, gentle fella. Stephanie, the wagging tail, no, it doesn't signify any sort of interest in us or anything like that. It's just wagging more from an insect point of view. So as insects buzz around his tail end and around his genital area, that's just helping to keep them away. Although in wind like today, insects are not going to be as active as what they are normally. The tail is just a swat. The only time a tail really is good with an elephant and to work out what's going on with an elephant is when that tail stops wagging and just points straight out off the back of the animal. So as soon as an elephant is upset, his tail or her tail will go erect and it will kind of stick straight out, and then this elephant is not happy. It's feeling like it's threatened in some way and is losing the plot a little bit. So that's how you'll know with the tail of an elephant if there's something wrong. When it's just wagging like this, no, that's just normal, just trying to keep flies away. And off he goes. He's gently going to meander past us. You can see he's not even watching us really. He's just kind of going past and having... Oh, is he going to push the tree? So you see how he checks the tree? He's just making sure that there isn't a weakness that he can then push it over. So I'm just going to go back a little bit so we can see him better and see if he does push the tree, that we can actually see him doing it. So I'm going to just go here. There we go. Dear watcher, you're asking, is the grass not good at the moment? Is that why he's eating the trees? Exactly, dear watcher, that's exactly right. So the grass at the moment is devoid of nutrients. It's been bleached by the sun, it's been burnt by the sun. There's very little in the way of nutrients in this grass at the moment. There's a bit in the roots, but there is more nutrients in the trees and in the bark, in the cambium layer, which is that red layer sits under the bark that takes nutrients from these roots up to the leaves, and so there's more in that. That's why they're targeting trees a lot more. As we start going into summer and we get rain and things start to change a little bit and the grass starts to green up and become lush, then you'll find a situation that the elephant's diet changes once again and it becomes predominantly grass that they feed off. In the summer months, they reckon that their diet can consist of between 60 and 70% just grass and their seeds, whereas now there's only probably about a 20% ratio of grass to roots and tubers and bark and leaves. So they're predominantly feeding on trees now, and then as soon as the rains come, it shifts a lot more to the grasses of the Sabi sounds. It's why they did so much damage during the drought last year, is because they had no food, and so they had to target trees, and even trees that generally they didn't really feed that much off. So they did a lot of damage. And in fact, if you just look around this bull elephant and you come out a little bit wider for me, Senzo, you'll see, look at how many fallen over trees. There's one there, one there, one there, there's some over here, there's over there. So that's all the trees that have been pushed over by elephants in the last little bit. There's, like I say, in one frame, at least 10 different trees that have been pushed over. And so last year they did a lot of damage because they couldn't find food, and even the bark of these trees was devoid of nutrients. Termites were onto the bark because they had no grass to eat, and so the elephants actually had to push the trees over, expose the roots, and get you some sort of nutrients in that way. It was really quite interesting to see the difference last year in their feeding pattern as opposed to this year with these sort of grasses that are around. They've been able to at least stay with the grass a little bit longer. Right, well, we'll sit with our Ellie bull a little longer. Apparently there's no sign of that male lion at Twin Dam, so I don't know where he's calling from. But while we do that, let's go back to Tayla McCurdy, who's in search of cats of her own.
Hello again. We're just driving about Whistler looking for lions, so where we are heading in the position of where those male lions were last night. I doubt they're still going to be here, but they just slept and slept and slept and slept, and I couldn't have been bothered sitting with them until they woke up. It was, I reckon, it would have been ages and ages and ages before they decided to get up. But I don't know, I heard a faint roar last night, but nothing too prominent. So I don't know if it was even them. Maybe they were quiet. I'd imagine if one of those male lions had roared, the other two would have joined in as well. But we'll give it a bash anyway. Maybe we are surprised. Go around. Now, a question from Nick about lions and fighting, and because there's so many lions around and there are many territorial battles, most certainly. Actually, last night when we changed position slightly of those lions, I noticed that one of the boys had many scratches on his body. They looked like they were fairly old. They'd healed. It was just sort of that black scar tissue, or that, maybe it was a scab that I was looking at. He had lots of them on the, so I presume they'd been battling it out. There's plenty of young male lions within the Chitwa males, or the Triangle Boys territory. So you probably find that they're chasing those youngsters off constantly, you know, whipping them into shape, making sure, well, if they're not lucky, they could end up being killed. And I think there's a lot of conflict that goes on between females too, not just the males. So yes, I think lions fight lots here. We might just not capture it though. It's unfortunately not with every pride of lions every single day. So they were here. They're lying around here, but they're not lying around here anymore. They've moved. And I don't know where they've come from either, which makes it a little bit more difficult.
Now, unfortunately, Tayla has lost her audio, and so we've got us back with our elephants, and so a little bit of a gremlin issue with Tayla this morning. I'm sure Tayla will swap them away. She's got her anti-gremlin dance and spray, and hopefully she'll be able to get rid of them. As you can see with our bull elephant, he's not really done very much at all. He's still sitting, feeding away off his bush willow, and is just slowly but surely, methodically dismantling that tree in the best way that he knows how, and he's breaking branch by branch, feeding off it, and then off he'll go eventually. So he's just looking around for some of the smaller branches that are easier to manipulate and break, and then you'll find once he's fed off those, then you'll probably find he'll move on to the next bush willow and feed off all of those young sapling branches that are coming up. They tend to be quite nutritious and a lot more moisture in the saplings, and then in the smaller branches they tend to be a little bit more pliable, as you can see. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to move on fairly shortly. No, we're going to break one off the top now. You see how he uses his tusk for leverage, and just like that, it is a broken branch. Oh, hi Bacon. There are a few trees that I've seen Ellies not really feed off very much. The spike thorns, so you see them in the Mulawati. Very seldom do you see the Ellies feeding on the spike thorns. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen an Ellies feeding on the spike thorns. There's them. I'm just trying to think what else that I've seen. I've never seen them feeding off the leaves of a jackalberry. I've seen them feeding off the fruits, but never the leaves of the jackalberry itself. So they pick up the fruits at the base of it, but not the leaves of it. Now, are you going to come and cause problems here? No, you're going to hide behind the marula tree, of course. Just trying to think what else. There's certain raisin species that I've never seen Ellies feed off. In fact, quite a few raisin species that I haven't seen them feed off. What else? Just trying to think what other trees that scotias, very seldom see them feeding on a scotia. In fact, I don't think I've seen them ever feeding on scotia trees, even when they're flowering. Coral trees they don't feed off. So there's a few that are out here. And now, why are you getting upset with us all of a sudden? Or do you just want to show us that you're a big elephant? So he's just coming and checking us out, and off he goes. Maybe he's frustrated that he's not finding the right branch to eat, and off he goes, bouncing his way down the hill. What I can tell you is that the weather has started out very nice. It has now changed into horrid weather. It is windy. It is getting colder by the second. In fact, I think the temperature must have changed at least by 3-4 degrees in the time we've been out with the wind chill. So it's becoming quite unpleasant out here, and hopefully the wind will die, because if the wind blows like this and it's a cold wind and it becomes really, really cold, then game viewing tends to take a little dive. It doesn't sort of have the same effect as hot weather. Hot weather, you'll find the animals are out and they're about and they're going towards water holes, and it makes it much easier for us to find them. But when it is cool weather like this, it is very difficult, and when the wind kicks up, most of the, especially animals like elephants, will start going into a situation where they go into hiding. But there's our second bull. So earlier I was saying that there's two bulls here. So the second bull is there. The first bull is now making his way towards the second one, and they're slowly but surely just meandering their way northwards, deeper into Djuma at this rate. But there you can see the other one just behind there is a slightly smaller individual, and maybe they're going to just greet one another. No, that one is muscling in and taking over. So the bigger individual, which is the one on the left, has just come in and pushed the smaller one off his breakfast. That's not very nice. So first he shakes his head at us, then he pushes the other one off his breakfast. Not a bit of a bully, isn't he? It's alright. It's the way it works in the elephant world. Rude, I know, Lou, but it is the way it goes, and size does matter when you're an elephant. The bigger you are, the more you can do these kind of things. Now, Lou, sorry, with the wind I didn't get the name very well. I don't want to mispronounce the name, so if you can just repeat that for me. R-O-Y, Ray, is that how you say it? Yes, something like that. From New York. You want to know how good is an elephant's hearing? Well, it's way better than what our hearing is, for sure. You'll find a situation that these guys have a massive ear, and that ear is able to trap sound and to try and funnel sound into the ear itself, so they can hear incredibly well. They also have a lot of sensory cells on the trunk and the toes, which are able to pick up vibrations that I suppose are part of a hearing process, and so they can pick up that quite well, and they do hear very well. They reckon that these guys can communicate at least between 10 and 15 kilometers away, which is really quite amazing. So in my little brain box and my little hamster wheel that is busy turning, I realized that Lou is in said Roy. So Roy, I do apologize, but I hope that you are having a good day in New York, and hopefully that answers your question. Their hearing is incredibly sensitive and they do pick up, and that's why they don't like the wind. So I was saying earlier, when the wind comes up, the Ellies are not a huge fan, and it's because they don't hear very well in the wind. The wind disturbs their hearing. You can imagine with us, when you go to a place where there's a very, very strong gust of wind blowing in an area, your hearing becomes a little bit obscured, and it's the same thing with these guys. As soon as the wind gets up, they battle to hear what's going on in the environment, and they don't like it, and they then end up moving into deeper drainage sections or deeper bush areas that can just cut that wind up a little bit and stop it from funneling through and really gusting into their ears, and they can then hear a little bit better. So that's why I say windy days are never the best days for game viewing. The Ellies and buffalo and those kind of things don't like it, and the cats, well, they'll use it for their advantage at night, but during the day they're not so chuffed. And it's amazing how fast the clouds are rolling in. Can you see this, Senzo? It is incredible how fast these clouds are moving. So if we just lock off there, watch how fast they're going past these trees. So it started out as a beautiful clear morning and is fast becoming an overcast, grey, windy day. Those clouds are moving seriously quickly. Amazing, isn't it? It's actually quite mesmerizing to watch. It's almost like a time lapse that we're watching as these clouds roll past. Very cool. Now it is almost an eerie feeling. If it was getting dark, it would be even worse, particularly with this wind howling. Now I'm going to try and carry on and leave these two Ellies to themselves, but while I do that, I believe Brent Leo Smith is still bumbling about the Mara. Let's see what he's up to.
Well, the wind hasn't stopped, as you can see, and we're still trying to get warm, but something that does warm me is how absolutely beautiful this area is. Now, we're right up towards the Sand River Bridge, but we're a little bit further to the east of it, south or northeast, and there are these lovely valleys full of these massive boulders, and the Black Rock Pride. Black Rock itself is actually the next valley over, but the Black Rock Pride gets its name from spending a lot of time perched on these boulders. Now I'm just cruising around the edge, hoping to find the rest of the Pride sunning themselves on a boulder. Lions. You see that boulder there? There. And it looks like they have a kill. It has it? Yes. There's the rest of the Black Rock Pride. Oh, there's a car. I didn't see that earlier. Okay, well, success. Let's go have a closer look. Hi, Rizzo in Boston. Rizzo is wondering, are the lions easier to spot when the grass is this green? Well, it's not so much that it's so green, it's how short it is. It's about 3 centimeters long, so it's quite hard for a lion to hide. Now, I wonder where that boy must have come from here, because I found his tracks just below here. He's decided he's tired of eating with the ladies. Now, as I said, there are 2 adult males amongst the Black Rock boys. Maybe the other one is still lying about with the ladies. Now, the first time I actually saw the Black Rock Pride and the Black Rock males, they were sitting on top of Black Rock itself. But I'm very happy, so a plan worked out. Now, we've heard roaring the whole night, but this wind has been so strong since about 9 p.m. last night that you sort of get these gusts of wind and intermittent roars that can be quite confusing.
goes straight. It is so beautiful here. Okay, let us cross the valley. Now, unfortunately, again, the gremlins are attacking. It must be on the wind. I believe it's a cold, cold day in the Masai Mara as well, and Brent is all wrapped up in his shukas, which is good for him. I wish I had one with me here, because the temperature is, like I say, dropping at a rate of knots, and I was all prepped for a nice warm morning, given that it was warm when we started. And so I'm in shorts, and luckily I had a jersey on the vehicle that I could put on very quickly, but it is starting to get quite cold this side. Now hopefully the gremlins stay away from us. They can stay that side. We don't want gremlins on our side of the world, do we now? So I'm just at Twin Dams, just having a little look, seeing if anything is around. I was convinced that lion was roaring from somewhere in this area, but he must have crossed south. You can see lots of impalas are coming down to drink, which means that there will be no sign of our kitty friend Hosanna, who likes to spend a lot of time here. At this stage, there's Egyptian geese on this side, and everybody's all very, very relaxed at the moment. There's no sign of anybody getting too upset, so I don't think any leopard is around Twin Dams at this stage. But there's our male and female Egyptian goose. Good morning. They unfortunately are a bit of a pest and are causing a lot of damage to a lot of the local aquatic species, particularly the ducks and various other waterfowl that we get here in South Africa. But at the end of the day, they are actually quite beautiful. If you look at them, they've got some beautiful markings. It's just a pity that they are taking over the way that they are. They're becoming a nuisance apparently worldwide. They've invaded all kinds of places in Europe and even in Asia, and so they are a bit of a nuisance. Hopefully, though, here we've got enough predators to warrant that we won't have to worry. Now, interestingly enough, you can see that there are impalas coming to drink. I wouldn't have expected them to come down this early in the morning in these blustery cold conditions. I would have expected them to kind of carry on feeding and make the most of the cooler conditions while they can, but they seem to be thirsty. Maybe it's an extension of yesterday's heat and the night where it was quite warm, that they've now come down and started to drink in this cooler weather. But see them just slowly kind of drifting off. It's not a long drink that they've had at all. So some of them also just bypassed completely. Some weren't interested at all, and they just went off in the background. You can see them trotting down towards the Mulawati. And as I was saying earlier, a lot of the animals will head down towards the drainage line. So you can see impalas are normally associated with more open sections, and off they go down into the Mulawati just to get out of this wind a little bit, so that they can hear if any predators are around and still pick up scent and those kind of things, because even in the wind, the scent will be swirling. It will be really difficult for them to work out what's going on. Right, I think we're going to move northwards from Twin Dams. So you say these look like rain clouds, and I might be right about my bet. I know, I have the feeling I might be right as well. I think these might be a cold front that are coming, and if there's a cold front, you sometimes get rain with the cold front. So maybe just maybe I'll be right. In a way, I'm kind of hoping that I'm not. In another way, I am. So in a way, the game viewing has been so good because... What's that all the way down there? The game viewing has been so good because it's been dry. That's why we've been seeing so many of our cats, and why we've had a lot of sightings of leopard and various other things at these waterholes. But it doesn't mean that I don't want the rain, in that for the animals it'll be better. A lot of grass will grow, and we'll get a situation where water will be a lot better, and things like elephants and buffalo hopefully will come back. But cat wise, it's better if we stay dry the way it is now. Now I just thought I spotted something deep into Little Gari, but it's not anything of concern. In fact, it's just a stump, so we're going to just leave that there. I wonder if it's not worth going and checking up on Tamba. I didn't see him this morning when we crossed through that section, and I didn't see any tracks for him, which means he might just be lying somewhere there. So I think that's what we're going to go and do. Given that we know where he was, let's try and see if we can find our little green-eyed boy this morning and see if he's still around the same area as last night. I didn't find, like I say, tracks coming out of that area. Of course, I could have missed them because I wasn't exactly driving very slowly. We moved quite quickly through there as we were trying to get to this male line, which evaded us in the end. And so I'm going to try and see if I can find him. That's what my plan is going to be, I think. Failing all of that, maybe it's a good day just to go past the hyena den, although in wind like this we often find the little cubs, it's cold for them, so they go inside and they don't really like to be out in cold wind, and so maybe, just maybe, they won't be around, but it's worth a try and worth a check anyway. Lovema, you wanted to check the hyena den? Okay, we'll go past hyena den at some point today, I'm pretty sure, as our impalas scatter from Rusty. This is, I'll forever know this as Rusty's place, because this is where we had to bend said steering arm. This is where we were lying underneath the car and we were trying to fix Rusty a few days ago. You can see that stump over there is a stump that we used to bend the steering arm, so a little bush willow stump that we used, and that's how we straightened the steering arm, was bending it over that, which took a bit of effort, I must say, and well, we got it right enough that we could drive it, which I suppose is a good thing, and it was actually driving fairly straight, to be honest. Even Herbie was laughing. He was saying it was not a bad job that we did, so it was good, and luckily we had that stump around, otherwise I don't think we would have gotten it right. Come on, Rusty. Now, of course, I'm saying come on to Rusty to go in the Mulawati, but it basically means that I need to be in the right gear for that to happen and not be in third. I need to be in first to be able to drive in the sand. So we're just going to meander our way, and it's amazing now that we're in the Mulawati, no wind, it's very pleasant inside here. It's much better. Hey Senzo, there we go. So Senzo's nodding in agreement that it's a lot warmer down here. There's far less of that cold wind than what we had up on the top there. Now I just want to see what these tracks are. Okay, so this looks like tracks for a female leopard. I just want to double check. So there are tracks for a female leopard going south. I drove here yesterday, and then there's tracks for a male leopard going north, so it looks like maybe just maybe Tundi was here as well. So let's try and just follow these around. They're going up and down on this little pathway, so I wonder if maybe Tundi and Tumba didn't reunite last night. Let's have a little look around. The track for the female goes south though towards Little Gari, and the track for the male is going north. So let's check and see. Maybe, like I say, we get lucky. And while we do that, I believe Brent is still driving around and still looking. I think he's still following, or trying to follow, that black dam pride, or the male line at least. I'm not sure, but he will update you and let you know exactly what he's up to.
Is surrounded by gremlins, but luckily for us, one of the lovely Black Rock ladies has moved higher up the hill and is living up to her name, lying on top of a rock. She'll be enjoying the morning sun. I don't think, but you can see how strong the wind is still as it's blustering around her. A beautiful light for the early morning. I must admit, last night took us a bit by surprise. So early in the evening it was actually beautiful and warm. Jamie even sent me a message saying, "Oh, it's surprisingly warm tonight," but that did not last long. Hello, gorgeous girl. So the other male and the rest of the pride are unfortunately further down the hill from us, and we just don't have coverage in that area. So we do apologize, but at least this lady is out in the open. OD Farming would like to know which coalition controls the Black Rock Pride. As I said a bit earlier, it's the Black Rock males, and there are two of them. We saw one of them at the beginning of Safari. The other one is lying with the rest of the pride behind us, and one of the males is blind in one eye, missing his eye completely. He's a very distinctive male lion. I don't know if you think you're going to be able to get that. Okay, so try to show you. Just try. There. There we go. You see, very, very distinct, and you can see he's missing his eye. But I don't think these ladies are going to get up to anything, so we're going to keep moving. I think we're going to go look for some cheetah next. It's a great area for cheetah as well. There's two males that come in across from Tanzania. Amani, the females in this area, and as we head further to the north, there's always a chance at the Five Musketeers. Oh, does not seem to be getting warmer this morning. Alright, well, we are going to mission on. While we do that, let's see how Madam McCurdy is doing, about 40 kilometers to the west of us in the Mara Triangle.
Well, we're doing okay. Thanks, Brent, for asking. How are you doing? We've spotted lots and lots of vehicles, so I suspect there may be some lions, but I wonder if these are our friends from yesterday up ahead. Our stalkers. We were followed around, we were tailgated. Chantal, I think they may be. And I think, unfortunately, these cats might be on the other side of the lugger. I think we have not chosen the right side of the lugger. Even though we are on the right side of the lugger, I think they might be on the left side. We'll see now. I can see lions, many lions. I'm going to hide over here though, because I think it's our friends from yesterday. We'll just stop here for now. Sorry, Fergus. I don't know which lions they are yet. Let me try and count. 1, 2, 3. Got 3 lions so far, 4. Another one's just appeared. Now, Christina, you're wondering about GPS tracking devices and animals like you would sort of put in your dogs and cats. So not microchips in that sense. They have got proper tracking collars, and we've seen them on the lions, we've seen them on the cheetah. I don't know if there's any leopard. Whee! That one just got mowed over. My sibling. It was quite funny. So they definitely are, and there's some hyenas too. I saw a hyena with a collar on. Oh, what are you carrying? What leg do you have there? So they've obviously gobbled up something at some point. Perhaps it belongs to a wildebeest, perhaps it belongs to a warthog or one of those buffalo that are just standing at the back. So yeah, so it's all for research purposes, of course. So you don't actually see too many of them around. Normally, once they've completed their study, they'll actually take the collars off completely. Now, we are quite far away from these lions. I think it could be the Angamas, it could be the Olololo females. It's hard to tell from here. I'm just seeing a couple of cubs. I haven't really, and I've seen 2 adults so far. Let me try and count again because I can see some more movement. Let me try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I can see 11 so far. So perhaps it is the Angamas and not the Olololo females, which is quite nice because I've been wondering where they were. They weren't here yesterday because we came and we checked extensively around this area before we were told about the male lion sighting. So that's good news. And they come and go. I mean, the other night, it was so interesting. Brent, we were doing our night shifts, and Brent had been with the Angamas, and I maybe was an hour and a bit behind him. By the time I got to where the Angamas were, it was just the cubs left, and the adults had gone and killed an Impala. So how amazing is that? It was just in that short space of time, the whole sighting had changed. It doesn't look like these cats are too keen on those buffalo, that we've seen them being chased by big herds of buffalo on a number of different occasions, so I think they're going to watch themselves. But it'd be nice to try and figure out what on earth they have eaten. Maybe they did. Maybe they caught a weak buffalo towards the end of the herd, and maybe they were able to, escape across the lugger very quickly. We know that that's their favorite way of escaping the horns and the hooves of the buffalo. But I'm glad that they got a little meal of some sort. They don't look thin. I've yet to really see a thin lion in the Mara, but maybe that will happen now that most of the migration has moved off, and it doesn't know if it's going to come back, because there's been rain everywhere. But the grass is looking lovely and appetizing this side, so who knows? We don't really know what could happen. Lots of things could definitely change. But this is nice. And it's a nice day. The wind was howling the whole of last night. It's just started to drop, which is great. So we're in for a very hot day. A hot, clearish day. It's quite hazy. Ferg and I were joking. We thought we came to the Mara Triangle, not Hazy View, in Mpumalanga in South Africa. Ha 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 ha. That's a small town, by the way. There they are, all playing. Now, dear, what you've said that the other animals are so close. Yeah, it's the buffalo, and there's elephants in the background. Like I said, this happens actually all the time. You'll see lions in close proximity to other animals, and that's quite normal. Like I said, it doesn't look like they're hunting them right now. And if anything, maybe they've got the lugger between them and the buffalo. Oh, there's a big male lion too. So the boys are maybe here, just to the left of this shepherd's tree. He was just walking across. There we go. There he is. Hello, lion. Is it our friend, the tailless Chitwa boy? Now, I find this quite funny, because if it is him, he's not tailless, let's be honest. He's basically missing maybe a quarter of his tail. So I think tailless is a strong word to just try and describe this lion, and I can see why it could probably cause much confusion. Maybe it's not him at all, but I just noticed that he was missing the black tufts of his hair. Oh, and there we go. A young lion going up to a beautiful big male. He's probably going, one day I want to be like you. And it's amazing how fascinated young lions are with big males. He's been quite affectionate. Look at that. And he's actually tolerating that youngster, which is very nice to see. Oh no. not tolerating too many trying to jump on his back. And it is our friend, the short-tailed male lion. He's going to pop around from the other side of the tree now. Like I said, I'm just going to hold my ground over here for the moment. It's a big tree, hey Ferg? It's not a small one. They're going to walk out now towards the... So my mind, there they come. Well, that's nice. So I wonder if the other two boys are around. Perhaps they are. It would also maybe explain why I didn't hear so much roaring. Maybe they didn't need to, because they found the pride. That's one thing that they'll do, not only proclaim territories by using their voice, but of course to try and locate their females that they are constantly looking after. He's a very impressive lion, though, don't you think? Careful. He's going, I've had enough of you youngsters. Yes, you settle down. And it only takes one spot. You'd think the others would have learnt and watched, but they just can't help themselves. They cannot resist young lions following a majestic male. That's quite nice. You've got 3 of the big 5 in one sighting. How incredible is that? Lion, I almost said leopard. Lion, buffalo, and elephant. Very cool. Careful, youngsters. Don't get too close. Oh, very sweet. So we're going to move around and see if we can get a better position. It seems as though Brent has got some teeny tiny little cubs getting a wash.
Look at this. It is just the cutest thing in the African bush. Tiny baby lion cubs. They are the bestest. They're little sausages, little teddy bears. Remember, this is coming to you 100% live from Kenya. And this is still the Black Rock Pride. The rest of the Pride, and there's 3 females here. And there are 4 tiny little teddy bears. And we're very close to their namesake, the Black Rock. And it looks like they've also had a successful evening and caught a wildebeest as well. I'm almost glad that the other lions had gremlins, because we wouldn't have come here and found these tiny little babies. Oh, it's going to be quite difficult for you because the wind's so strong, but the noises is just incredible. Oh, look, we're being stalked, Dave. Hello, little one. Where are you going? Oh, my goodness. Next one coming around the bush. Oh, going back. I think they're going to jump on each other. Oh my goodness. This is just too wonderful. Little cubs. Charge! Oh, hello. Ow! So they're not even getting that growl yet. It's a squeak that they're making. So obviously their vocal cords are still developing. I'm going to go forward back just a skosh. I'm going to try to see what the females are eating. It is a wildebeest. It's nearly finished. Oh, hello guys. Oh, there's a tail. Cubs love tails. It's the best toy in the world for a little lion cub. So there are 4 of these tiny little babies. Hi Stephanie. Stephanie says they look so young, but they're eating meat. Well, they'll nibble on the meat more than eat it. I'd say these guys are no more than about 6 weeks old. Look at that. Oh my goodness. But they'll nibble on meat. But normally, from about 2 months, they'll eat meat. But remember, they're still going to be fully reliant on mom's milk for till they're about 5 or 6 months old, when they lose their baby teeth. Now, for those of you who are wondering, this is 100% live, coming to you from Kenya. And if you want to ask me a question about these absolutely gorgeous lion cubs, you can do so by using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. Oh, and at this age, everything's a toy. Each other, tails, sticks, grass. Now, as I just said, I'd say they're between 4 and 6 weeks old, so very, very, very small. Oh, look at the back climbing, or attempted, and until mom stood up. I'm not sure which one's the mother yet, can't see who's lactating, but they're all the same age, so I say all 4 cubs are from one lioness. Oh, this wind is horrible. And they are, there we go. Getting used to the idea of rare meat. So they'll more nibble and play with the meat at the moment than feed on it. Oh, just naughty cubby's running away. Mom looked like she was going to go pick it up. Running towards the other safari vehicle who's enjoying the sighting with us. Pretty sure she's going to pick the cub up if it carries on misbehaving. There we go. Nick is wondering what is the survival rate of lion cubs? Nick, it varies from area to area, but normally only about, in the Mara about 60%, sometimes 50% of cubs survive, which is a bit higher than other areas. Oh, you guys are naughty. Naughty little teddy bears. Right. There we go. They're being escorted back towards the kill and the thicket. Now, strangely enough, it actually looks like there's two no, she's very pregnant. So that female walking there, she's going to give birth very soon. So I thought she might be lactating. She is, and I think these little cubs are lactating off both these females, but one of them is still pregnant. Oh, so much trouble, you little horrors. Oh, look at them. Oh, this is just too cute. Now, dear watcher is wondering, when do the eyes change colour? It can vary, but normally when they're about between 2 and 3 months old. Ow! Ow! It's just too delicious. Aren't they just scrumptious? They are minute. So they're probably even a little bit smaller than a big house cat at this age. Trouble coming in at the back. Steaming in down the termite mound. Coming to say hi, Ma. Here we go. Charge! Now, they're still so clumsy at this age, falling over their own feet, falling over each other. And you see there's a little trip there. And it's hard to believe that in a couple of years they will be proficient killers. Hey, little guys. As I said, I think there's going to be a few more cubs to this pride quite soon. John is wondering, will they share den sites if more than one lion is pregnant? No, John, they'll den individually. Now, what I've noticed in the Mara, in comparison to other places in Africa where I've worked, is that the cubs tend to be introduced to the pride at a much younger age, and I think it's probably due to the very high hyena density that is in the Mara. Oh, getting upset. Oh, there's a bit of a fight going on. Number 4 is coming over. Now, enough of that. Riti is wondering, can a lactating lioness still get pregnant? If she's lactating, she's either pregnant or she's got cubs. So no, she would already be pregnant, and she's only going to come into estrus again once these cubs get to independence, which will be at about 2 years old. So once she is lactating, she's either pregnant or she's got cubs. So she's not going to get pregnant again. Now you must remember, as cute and fluffy as these little lions are, those little lion cub teeth are like hypodermic needles. They are so sharp. Now we're going to sit here for a little bit longer and see what these cubbies get up to. This is a really special find because they're probably not going to move too far from this area for the next while, but it sounds like Tayla has got some bigger cubs of her own, playing with a bit of a macabre scene.
Yes, they've decided to play on what's left of the wildebeest carcass, so we've figured out what they have eaten. Look like a wildebeest, which is the horns that I could see. We had quite a nice sighting just now. I'll show you some pictures of the youngsters playing on a fallen tree. It was actually very beautiful. It was lovely, but you were all enjoying the very cute little cubs and whatever they may have been doing, which was nice to see. Tiny little lions too. And these guys are quite far away. We're on the other side of the lugger. And so we're on the eastern side of the lugger. The lions are actually on the western side. But there are many cars there. We're safe this side, which is good. And look how comfortable they are around the vehicles. They don't care that the paparazzi are out and photographing them. Some of the youngsters are actually putting on a show as if they were born for this, ready for the limelight. I think they're going to have to eat something again soon. None of them have particularly big bellies, so I did see lots and lots of zebra around, but they're moving off, and it explains why they're moving off, because there's an entire pride of lions around here. So I wonder what they'll go after, whether it will be during the day or maybe a little bit later. Perhaps they'll wait for the cover of darkness. Who knows, but they're definitely going to need to eat something again. And Madel, you're wondering in what age could you tell the sexes of the cubs? If you have a good enough look, you can pretty much tell it after the first couple of weeks. It's just you've got to look very carefully and hope that they're facing the right way and that they stay still for long enough to sort of see them. But it can get a little bit confusing, like I say, especially when you're in long grass constantly. Sometimes it doesn't allow for you to see the entire lion. But again, from relatively young, and obviously as the males start to get a little bit older, you start to, about 6 months or so, you start to notice a little bit of a fluffiness around the neck area, just very subtly, and then as they start to get close to a year, it becomes more and more prominent, and so on as they continue aging. And when they reach about 6 years old or so, 6.5 years old, normally their mane is quite large. And sometimes you even get lucky and they get hairy elbows. That's how far that mane stretches over the shoulders. So we've got 2 of the male lions that we saw yesterday here. I haven't seen the third one. That's not to mean that he's not here. He could just be laying down in the grass. Perhaps he's already gobbled up as much as he can. And we've got a youngster again trying to get some attention from a big male. To me, he's the most beautiful out of the lions I've seen so far of the Chitwa boys. Now, Rishi, wondering if the lions will eat the wildebeest horn. No, I don't think that they will. They don't already digest keratin very well. It's the hyenas that are unbelievable when it comes to digesting shards of bone, as well as, of course, skin and keratin. Lions will typically leave it. The youngsters might play on it and chew on it, especially if they're young and their new adult set of teeth are coming through. It might be nice to chew around it, but other than that, no, they'll just leave it. Look at these youngsters; they can't help themselves. They're just in absolute awe and mesmerized by this big male. And I mean, you can see why. Imagine being a little lion looking up at something with such a great mane and so big and powerful, especially when they roar. I'm sure they must get so excited. But you see more of a fascination with cubs, with male lions, big male lions, than you do with the females. Obviously, they love the females. They get groomed. But normally, mom reprimands them quite a bit too, and then when they get out of hand and play too much, you see the males slap them about too. And they can be quite rough. Sometimes the males don't realize their strength, and they can hurt young cubs. I mean, these boys would have sired these youngsters, so they don't want to kill them. But a full swat from one of these male lions could quite easily break a cub's back. And again, you just catch a male lion on the wrong day, in the wrong mood, and it could be quite treacherous for those youngsters. Here he sits, just hiding a bit away behind all the trees. Now, I think they're getting ready to settle down now. Like I said, it's going to be quite hot. And they have got a nice tree that I think will cast some shade. They might have to split up just slightly, as I don't know if there'll be enough shade for all of them. but I think that they will be here again this afternoon. I've had a scan around. I don't think that there is anything that looks appetizing. Besides, of course, there's all those buffalo, but I think they're going to leave them alone. We know how the big herds of buffalo react around lions, especially if lions get too inquisitive. I'm just going to chase them away. So what we might do is we might actually move on from here and perhaps go and try and find some other lions, because these guys are particularly far away. But let's go back across to Brent now, who is still sitting with, a lioness and her youngsters.
Oh, a lion, the cub just fell off Mom's back, coming around. And there we go. Now all four of them together. And we can see they are the same age. And you can see at this age, males and females, there's very little size difference. Oh, look at the one on its back. Oh, so cute. Little troublemakers. Oh, I got a tail. They are absolutely gorgeous. Hello, little horrors. It is truly special to be able to spend time with lion cubs of this age. And Chantal in Final Control says, "You've made my morning with these." Yes, lion cubs tend to make, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, they do tend to make you absolutely melt. Hey, you. Oh, so sweet. Now you'll see quite a lot of sort of little dark spots on the cubs. Now at this young age, those spots are there to help break out their outline, help them camouflage when they're left by the moms when they go hunting. Oh, we've got a tail. We've got one on a tail again at the back. There we go. Oh, this wind is pumping. That bored of the tail. Let us go see what other adventures await in the thicket. Okay, well the cubbies are moving around. I'm just going to move forward a little bit. Let's have a look. Now, Riti is wondering why are lionesses in different areas different colors? Well, Riti, they're not really different colors. Quite often, it's a misconception by people just due to the different colors of the bush around. But also, certain individuals will be darker than others, and it's not so much area as individual. Oh, look, are we on an adventure again? Are we going to get into trouble from Mom again? Now, when they do wander too far, the females do tend to try make sure they don't get too far away before they are reined in. Oh, there we go. There we go. Here comes the lioness. Where do you lot think you're off to? You can only go there if you come with me. Oh, very exciting. All the way back in South Africa, it sounds like Tristan is racing towards my favorite animal in the world.
I am, Brent, I am. I just left an area where there's definitely a leopard. The monkeys were going crazy, the francolins were going crazy, and there's tracks for at least 2 individuals in that area going crazy. But we have wild dogs around, so the wild dogs are where we're off to, and we're trying to get there as fast as possible because we know how these dogs are and how they can be difficult to find at the best of times. So we're trying to race to get to the wild dogs and trying to get up into that area. So we're just shifting through the gears a little bit and really kind of trying to go quite fast because they're up on Sandy Patch Road, which is close to the Buffelshoek boundary as well as obviously the Simbambili boundary. So we're going to try and get that side. But I believe that there's elephants also around, so it's a recipe for absolute chaos going that side. So trying to make my way as fast as possible. But I think possibly Tamba and Hosanna are in the same place again, because there's tracks for a young male coming from Twin Dam side, from Weaver's Nest side, which is where Hosanna was last seen, and then there's tracks for Tamba all over the place, and they literally, you walk any of the pathways in that area and it's just leopard trap. It's really quite difficult to kind of follow what's going on, and they go back and forth all over the place. But the monkeys, like I say, and the Franklins were going absolutely crazy, so there definitely is a leopard there. It's just a matter of trying to find it a little bit later. We'll have to maybe ask Herbie and Ali to do a bit of tracking team in that area and see if they can manage to find it. There we go. Now I'm trying to, like I say, race to get there as quick as possible. Unfortunately, I probably chose the worst road for these bolsters. These bolsters are absolutely massive, but once we get onto quarantine and then towards Vuyatela access, we're going to be absolutely fine. Then we can open up a little bit and use our gears to the best of our ability. But all very exciting. It's amazing what can happen in a morning. It was quiet. Nobody had anything. There was no sign of anything on Buffelshoek or Torchwood. Everybody's been kind of looking, and now all of a sudden we've got a situation where we've got wild dogs chasing things around, elephants, tracks for leopards, monkeys alarm calling. It's all just going crazy. Out way, Dove. Beep, beep. James, the wild dog and leopard, you say yes, but hopefully they stay separate. Well, I would imagine they would, although here's tracks for it's tracks for the male line. But yes, they I think will stay separate, given that the leopards are somewhere down on the Mulawati and these dogs are up near Sandy Patch. Right, let's see. I believe they're on Sandy Patch somewhere, so hopefully I'll be able to find them, and hopefully we'll have signal. It's often an area where we get a bit of issues, but I'm hoping that given that we're in Rusty, things will be better. Senzo, you're still on there? You're still alive? Senzo is just smiling behind me, holding on with this face of absolute terror as we're driving around. So we're trying to get over all of these bumps and race our way that way. Now this will be the first dogs I've seen in maybe 3 months since the last time I saw dogs, maybe even longer. I know that Taylor's seen them and Byron seems to get fairly lucky with them, but I haven't seen dogs in quite some time. So looking forward to catching up with a pack again and getting to see them. It's always nice, and hopefully this is a pack that's got little puppies with them, because we haven't seen puppies for quite some time, and they are just coming out of their denning season, and so most of them should have little puppies with them. So let's hope that there are puppies there, and hopefully it's not the 3 dogs, because, well, if it's the 3 dogs, the chances of us catching up with them is pretty slim at this rate. So hopefully we'll get them. We're not far from Sandy Patch now. We're just going past Aubrey's, and so it's the next road to the right, and we should be able to be there. Sure, it's not a racing drive to get you. Yep, the ultimate definition of safari, as Lou says, is most definitely wild dogs, for sure. They always get things going, and I can see them. There they are, right in front of us, and it looks like they do have a kill, so, which is excellent news. I don't know what they've killed, but there is a number of dogs here. I don't even know how many. There's a lot, though. How cool is this, guys? I just want to get a little bit further forward so that we've got a nice open clear view of the dogs. There's a bit of mating going on as well. So you can see blood all over them. They've obviously had a kill somewhere. They're not feeding now, but they obviously have had a kill, and now it's play mode. And when they play like this, it is the best thing to watch. We are super lucky, guys. This is one of the most endangered predators in the world, and so we are fortunate to be able to get a view of them. Which pack this is, I'm not 100% sure. It looks like it could be the Investec pack. I'm just trying to count how many adults there are. So I think it is the Investec pack. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've seen them, so I'm just trying to recognize some of these individuals, but I think it is them. I just love, though, when they're in this mode. After they've killed, it's coolish weather, they go into complete play mode, and there's jumping all over each other, kind of go crazy, and sort of it's games and playing and up on their back legs, and it's all just super exciting. And like I say, to see these guys is as special as it gets. I know some people don't like them because they say they're ugly and that they are vicious and they are ruthless, but they are amazing animals. The ability to do what they do and the way that they do it really is just phenomenal, and I actually quite find them quite endearing. I like the way that they look. They've got these kind of funny markings all over them. No two dogs are the same. For me, the best kind of animal in that it's the way that it goes about its business is always just chaos. It's never a situation where things are quiet and tame. It's just absolute pandemonium with dogs all the time, as you can see for us trying to get you. And now even with them kind of after a meal, you would expect somebody like a leopard or a lion will lie down and flop over and that will be the end of it. But dogs, it is now play mode. They're running around chasing each other, they're jumping on one another. It's all just fun and games at the moment. So it's the best part about dogs is that they are just constantly busy with something, and there's constantly play going on. And that one's mating the other one's head. That's not ideal. Whoopsie. The ones in the back there are a little confused, unfortunately. No, you've got it all wrong. Other way around. Poor female. It's not ideal, I don't think. Anyway, maybe yeah, the less said about what's going on in the background there, the better at this stage. But the rest are at least playful and having such a good time. Look, I love when they go on their back legs like that. It's my favorite thing when you get dogs up on their back legs. It really is super cool. They kind of play and they jump and they go crazy, and it always looks like they're just having the best time when they're doing stuff like this. So I'm so glad we caught up with them, and that they are playful in this particular section. And it looks like at least that they're going to go semi quiet now, at least sit down for a bit, although we know with wild dogs they can go from sitting to standing in the space of about 2 seconds. But there must be a female that's coming into estrus. Look at this one that's trotting. Number of males here that are chasing the females around. So I wonder if there's not a female going to estrus. Maybe this pack is going to den much later than some of the other packs because they're sniffing her. There's a number of males, like I say, looking. And interestingly enough, these wild dog females sometimes will mate with multiple males, even though there's an alpha system. I was talking to Grant the other day, who studies the dogs in the Kruger system, and he was telling me how they've done tests and there are multiple different males that are producing cubs in the area, well, in the specific sort of den and within the pack that's been breeding. So it's quite interesting just to see how it all goes. Proud cat mama, yes, they can hear incredibly well. Those big ears are designed to pick up sound. You can see how they move just like the elephant's ear. It's like a satellite dish, and it's picking up a lot of what's going on. And the reason why they have to hear so well is because, remember, they split apart when they're hunting, so they've got to be able to contact call and hear themselves and hear each other. And then also when they're hunting, they're quite low to the ground, so they're not very high up, and that means that those ears are able to pick up sound around them. So really cool. These poor females are having a really tough time. The males are literally just mounting any female that comes past them. They're jumping on her. So they're all having a, oh jeez, it's not going well. Boys are not knowing what's happening at this stage. They're all a bit confused as to which way they're supposed to be mating. There we go. That's better. Well done. No, she's not interested in mating with you yet. So it's really intriguing behavior. I wonder if there isn't some males that have joined this pack and they're trying to now mate with the females to try and kind of establish themselves. But you can see there's at least 3 or 4 different males that are mounting females in different places, and there's lots of different females that are being mounted. Now I doubt that all these females can be in heat, but like I say, it could be new males to